Hello there YouTube. Today is Monday, November the 2nd, and I'm just going to make a quick little video post about some of the things that's going on in my channel. I do appreciate everyone who has signed up, everyone who's viewed, everyone who's taken the time to make some comments on everything they've seen. I appreciate that 100%. I honestly just started this as my own little project, just to have fun, as a way to just talk about stuff. Sometimes I don't get, work in my office here by myself, I don't really get a chance to get out and talk to many people face to face or express opinions and such like that. And the friends that I have who are deeply invested in Magic, they have like they're in Toronto, in the States, they're all over the place. I don't really get to talk to them much. So this is just a way for me to communicate. One of the comments in my YouTube videos that has, I wouldn't say irked me, but has just made me raise an eyebrow, was it was in my review post from the Arcanes, and the gentleman was Predator Magic. Now, I have no idea if he's a gentleman, if he could be a chick, it could be a dude, I have no idea how old he could be. But it was a comment basically saying about a noob Faro that I had. Now, one thing, and this is just a little backstory for me, I don't like people being critical without being able to support their criticism with something to fix what they're being critical about to begin with. In a sense, he was basically criticizing my noob Faro, and in all honesty, I'm perfectly happy with my Faro. As a side note, I was doing that Faro while watching through the LCD of a video camera, not actually looking at my hands, but looking at the camera to make sure I was staying in focus. And I must say, I made the comment there in the video as well, it's a little harder to do when you're looking at something that's a time delay of about maybe like a quarter of a second than doing it in real time. That aside though, he basically criticized the Faro, but didn't really support his view of what a good Faro should be. He didn't have anything to back it up. And granted, that was a very sloppy Faro. I do it much better when I'm not actually on a time delay. But when I teach or instruct, or when I give any type of advice, I always like to support it with something to help correct the issue that I had to begin with. Now, it could be just he didn't know that, or he didn't have a good example, or didn't want to. But until you can put up, I guess the phrase would be shut up. And I'm not being this harsh. I'm not actually saying put up or shut up. But I'm saying if you're going to criticize me, then post to the other people online a good example, which you feel is a good example, or post your own video of doing a Faro. But don't criticize and just leave it like that, because then, in all honesty, you make yourself seem a hell of a lot less credible than you would if you could actually support yourself. And especially online, when all you see is text, you can't really see voices, or sorry, not obviously can't see voices. You can't really see mannerisms. You can't see like the inflection of the face. You can't hear the vocal inflections, and it makes it harder to actually state your cause without actually sounding, I would say, immature, but without having people read into it in a manner that it shouldn't be. Like, for all instance, like, that post seemed like it was written by like a 12-year-old kid. It very well could have been written by a 12-year-old kid, and that's why. But because of the way it was written, and the fact that there's no tone, there's no facial no facial expressions, no gestures, it's really hard to judge the internet text for what it really is worth. So in order to be judged properly, you've got to kind of elevate your game a little bit. You've got to be able to support yourself. So, Predator Magic, if you're out there, dude, show me your Faro. Show me a Faro. Show me what you think is a good Faro. And I personally, like, I don't care if my magic is pretty or not. I care if it's magical. I work in a restaurant weekly. I used to work in 3 restaurants a couple years ago, like 3 restaurants a week, and you get burned out really fast. But like, that Faro has served me well. I can do that Faro perfectly, if I'm not on time delay, over and over and over and over again. But in all honesty, I don't care if my magic is pretty. I care if my magic is magical. So as long as what I do suits what I need it to do, then fine. Like, I honestly don't care. But that doesn't mean I'm going to criticize you. If you want your Faro to look as pretty as it possibly can, then by all means, make yourself a pretty Faro. Put a bow on it. Put it in a nice little case. It doesn't matter to me. Do what you want to do, and do it happily. That's all I care about. And then secondly, was another guy, I don't have the post up right now, commenting on how many times I said I will admit that I had to restart this video at least 15 times because I had 3 uhs within the first 10 seconds. Back when I was working for another company, not for Illusionist, I was actually working for Illusionist part-time. I was part of a group called the Toastmasters. And for those of you that don't know, Toastmasters is a public speaking organization. And what they would do is they would basically, they'd get together once a week for an hour or so. You'd write little speeches, or they'd give you a subject and you had to talk about it for a minute. And they had people that would count your uhs, your ums, your ahs, your pauses, all those little pauses where you give yourself time to, there you go, where you give yourself time to gather your thoughts and think about what you're going to say next. And I will admit, that's a very hard habit to break. I wouldn't say I've struggled with it. When I was with Toastmasters, it was getting less and less and less. Because if you do it a lot, then it's a real hard habit to break. I can't even speak now because I'm thinking wrong. It's just a matter of practice. I've said to many people, if you want to learn to be able to speak, then you've got to go out and put yourself into situations where you're speaking with different people. Some people that I've talked to, they've asked, well, what do I do? What can I do? Well, talk to the guys at the cash registers. One thing I notice, I use a perfect example all the time, is in a supermarket, there's a couple of different niches of people where they work. Cashiers, stock boys, produce people, meat department people. And when you say you go to looking for milk or something like that, you ask a stock boy, where's the milk? Generally aisle 4, or they point. That's really all the response you're going to get. If you talk to a cash register, how's the weather, blah, 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 and most of them are chatty Cathys. They just keep going on and on and on. And that's it. That's the difference. The cash register people, they have a chance to talk to many different people over and over and over again. They learn the art of conversation. Whereas the stock boys, on the shelf, on the shelf, on the shelf, and most of their answers, most of the questions that are asked of them are only 1 or 2 word answers. So they don't really get a chance to practice the interaction with different people all the time. My wife hates the fact that I can walk up to different people and just start a conversation, as long as I have something in common and it's not too creepy. You don't want to be the creeper that just starts talking to people. But she finds it interesting that I'm able to talk to many different people at any given time without having a reason to talk to them. Like, it could be about the weather, I could be in line in an elevator, I could be the cash register guys. She herself is not a people person, but it's mostly because she doesn't actually, have a job that requires her to talk to many different people, so she kind of loses that skill. When I worked at the other company I worked for before I worked for Illusionist, I was required to talk to many different people on a daily basis. I worked in an office building of basically, I think it was at 2,000, and frequently I was the go-to guy. I was the guy that provided all the answers or knew where to get stuff, things like that. And I would get calls from everybody. And because I was able to practice the art of conversation constantly, I was using the big words, I was very fluent, I was able to get what was on my mind out there without using an or an ah. And you'll notice that as I get more comfortable talking in front of the camera, in the past few minutes, I've even noticed it myself, I've said a lot less of the ums and the ahs. But the art of conversation isn't something you're born with. It's something that takes time and takes a lot of practice. And if you don't take the time to force yourself to talk to people in situations that you wouldn't be normally put in, then you're not going to be able to learn to break those habits. If you have a Toastmasters in your area, by all means join them. They do take people as young as I think at 15 might be the youngest, but they do take younger people. They do have Toastmaster organizations in larger cities for younger people. And if you're interested in public speaking, or if you just want to improve your speech in general, Toastmasters is a really good way to do it. And I'm actually in the St. Catharines where I live. I'm actually looking into joining another Toastmasters organization. Excuse me. So basically, I just wanted to comment on those 2 comments. It's not that they bugged me, but I just wanted to make sure people knew where I was coming from. And it's really hard to type all this in a space where you're only given like 250 characters. Earlier, somebody asked for like a fanning tutorial. I can give you a fanning tutorial. There's tons of different resources out there. But in all honesty, like what I can show you will only be the very tip of the iceberg. And basically, fanning is practice. So I'll make a video on that sometime in the next few days. I'll get that up online. But I can tell right now, I'm looking at my camera, I've only got like 30 seconds left. So guys, thank you for all your subscriptions. Thank you for the support. Keep watching. Ask if you want to see something, my collection back here, ask. I'll go over it with you. But basically, just if you want to see it, let me know. Talk to you later.